Good morning, Hockey Nation Live fans and Hockey Nation Live Network. This is your Detroit Red Wings report for September the 26th. We've just seen the end of the main phase of the Detroit Red Wings training camp. After having what I think was a pretty successful prospects camp, the regular main camp began on the 22nd and culminated with the red and white game yesterday. So we're going to take a look at some of the players that I thought stood out. And also today there were 9 players that were removed from training camp roster, trimming the roster for training camp down to 60 players. So don't go away. Let's take a look. If you didn't get to watch this, it was kind of interesting because we got to see some interesting matchups and some interesting line combinations. And it's our first look at some of the players that looked really good in prospect camp, but also that we've been waiting to see in main camp. A couple notes: Andrew Kopp remains out, is not expected back till probably the first week of October with an injury. Robbie Fabry is out until January. And after this camp, I would not be surprised to not see him back in Detroit, but let's see what happens. So the first was the Team Red roster. What was really interesting about this was the Michael Rasmussen, Filip Zadina, and Jakub Vrana line. There is obviously amazing, above average chemistry between Zadina and Vrana. We know that Zadina maybe has had disappointing offensive numbers to date. And I think, he came into the NHL draft with a big reputation as a goal scorer in the Quebec League, but I'm not seeing him that way anymore. What we saw yesterday was he is very explosive. His skill level is off the charts, and he is an above-average playmaker. He also creates offense by cutting to scoring spots, drawing attackers to him, and getting the puck onto who else's stick but Jakub Vrana. Vrana, I would not be shocked to see score 35, 40 goals for this team. And Zadina might be a 40 assist, 50 assist guy the way he's looking. But he does look very explosive, but we did see in one play where he set up Vrana for a goal and after a turnover. He controls the puck very, very well. His skill level is so high, guys. Like I'm talking about Zadina. And I just can't see his numbers not going up this year, especially if he's healthy and Vrana's healthy and he's paired with Vrana, whether that centerman is Michael Rasmussen or Andrew Kopp or someone else. But Rasmussen looks very good also. He is, as we know, a giant at 6'6". His skating, I think, is again improved. His puck handling is really good, and he's winning faceoffs. He's playing the part of a big body guy, but he's got skill. So this combination was really interesting to watch. Zadina I thought looked very, very good, and Vrana, man, he can snipe. He sniped from the top of the slot and scored a really nice goal in this game. Giovanni Smith took a high stick from Simon Edvinsson. This was the first of 2 injuries that were caused by Simon Edvinsson. We'll talk about that from Team White. But Giovanni Smith takes a high stick from Simon Edvinsson, gets a penalty shot as there were no penalties in this game, only penalty shots, and scores on that to tie the game at 1-1. And Giovanni Smith, I think, is going to be pressed to stay on this lineup, but I don't see how you don't. He's shown in this game again, he's got very good hands. He's a good skater, and we know he's tough and he's mean. So, and he's a little bit of a showboat. He scored and he kind of got the crowd going, and he's a fun player. I think that they should make room for him on the 4th line for this team. He's capable of playing up on the 3rd line, and I thought he had a good day. He took took the high stick, scored on the penalty shot. He scored the empty netter to finish the game to win it for Team Red 4-2. And I think he looked really good yesterday. A note about Austin Czarnik. This is a former, I think, Little Caesars midget player. He's small. He's kind of bounced around the NHL between the Islanders and Calgary. He's got a high skill level. He's just really, really tiny. And if he was a little bit bigger, even if he was 5'9" or 5'10", you would notice him more. But he's got a great skill level. I think he's going to be in the AHL, and he'll be a guy that can flex up. Also on this roster was Ryan Piercy. Piercy had 4 goals, notably in 1 game in the Prospects tournament. He's a big guy, and I think he played with the Flint Firebirds, and he is a training camp invite. I'd be shocked if he has not earned himself, and that's in the OHL, by the way, the Flint Firebirds. And I would be shocked if he is not. Oh, it's Riley. It's not Ryan. Sorry. I'd be shocked if they don't sign him to an AHL contract. He's looked real good. He played real well again in the red and white game, and I think that this is a guy that they probably end up keeping. Cross Hannes, who was a 2nd-round draft pick of the Detroit Red Wings, had an amazing prospects tournament. He looked very good again. his skill level is very, very high. The Portland Winterhawk WHL leading scorer, he had a 100-point season. This guy, is very capable of being an AHL player and definitely can play some sort of a role in the NHL. It would not shock me to see him eventually be like a second or a third line center. He is a very good playmaker. He's very fast. He's a good forechecker, 200-foot player, and he can shoot the puck. He's not a big guy. He might be 5'10", 5'11", but this is a very, very good draft pick unexpectedly for the Red Wings, and I think he's going to really turn out. This was also our chance to see Dominik Kubalik, and they mentioned a few times. We know he's a big guy at 6'3", came over from the Gong Show that is the Chicago Blackhawks. And Kubalik looks good in this game. He missed an opportunity to bury one, but his size, his shot are obvious. We saw him a couple years ago in the lockout shortened playoff where Chicago got into the extended 24-team playoff series that was the COVID lockdown bubble, and he looked very, very dangerous then. I think he was dangerous again today. I was kind of surprised at the line mates that he had. If you play him with two highly skilled players, he's going to be able to produce offensively for you. I would think that he might be a 20, 25 goal guy for this team, depending on where they play him in the lineup. On defense, on the Team Red, we saw Ali Mata. They're hoping for a bounce-back season after what he is also described as a disappointing year with the Los Angeles Kings. You can tell he's a veteran. He's 28, the Finnish-born defenseman, former Pittsburgh Penguin. I think he played a little bit, not only in LA, but in Vancouver. He's reliable. He's a good skater. He knows what to do out there. You're not going to have any problems with him. I don't think you're going to expect a lot of offense from him. But Mata was paired with Philip Hronek, and I could see that being a very good second-line pairing. He's not perfect, and neither is Hronek. Philip Hronek, I really like Philip Hronek, right-shot defenseman. He's got some offense. He's going to get you 35, 40 points. Really has to pare down his plus-minus. He can't have another, minus 20, minus 10 season. He needs to become a plus defenseman. But I don't know. I think playing on that second pairing, running a second power play, he'll have a real good year. And Mata looks like a good fit with him. We also saw Albert Johansson, and Albert Johansson's such a good skater. I don't really think you're going to see a lot of offense from him. But right now, he looks like he's very capable of being a 5 or a 6 defenseman in the NHL. I don't know what you gain by putting him in the AHL. He's very reliable defensively. He's an above average skater. He makes really good decisions with the puck. We saw him lay the body a little bit on guys. So he's physically mature. I just think you've got to make a decision on him and say, listen, this guy's good enough to play in the NHL. We also saw the return of Jared McIsaac, who's just been snake bitten with injuries since he's become a Detroit Red Wing. It's been really kind of unfortunate. I think he's just trying to find an equilibrium. This was a guy, when you go back to junior in the Team Canada days, and you would compare him favorably to Noah Dobson. Noah Dobson, as we know, is probably number 1 or number 2 defenseman for the New York Islanders. And I don't think Jared McIsaac is that. I think he's just trying to have a healthy year again. And he looks like he would be a capable 5'6" defenseman as well. Oliver Plandowski had a real good prospect camp. I don't think he's going to be in the NHL with this team. And Jordan Osterley, to me, was kind of invisible. We know he's reliable and he's a veteran presence now, but he's at best the number 6 defenseman, in my opinion. And I think very quickly he's going to be relegated to 7 or 8 on this team because there's guys like Johansson, even Robert Hagg, that look better than him. In net, we saw Nedeljkovic, and I got to say, guys, I think it was a good pickup to get him last year from Carolina, and his contract was only a 2-year contract, so this is the last year, that's $3 million deal. He's a backup goalie, in my opinion, in the NHL. He's going to have some nights where he's on and other nights where he's off. You saw against the improved skill level of this team, you saw goals by Dylan Larkin against Larkin and Raymond, and he gives up the whole top shelf of the net. And I just don't see this as a long-term solution for them. And, I think that as we'll talk about on Team White, the play of Sebastian Casa in the prospects tournament and then again in main camp so far, I think it's been really, really encouraging. And I think, that's good. It's not short term. I don't think this is going to happen, but you've got to think he's going to be in the AHL. And eventually, when this Nedeljkovic contract runs out, the long term definitely Costa. I thought he might be 4 years away the way I saw him play for Team Canada. But what we've seen so far, maybe he's just much better suited to Detroit, and maybe they have the goaltending coaching that will help him get there. Olkinuora, I wasn't, unimpressed by, but also not like super impressed by. I don't think he was tested that much. So that's kind of an overview of the players on red team. Again, Zadina, Verano, very, very good. Rasmussen, very good. I like Giovanni Smith's game, and I think he should be on this opening night roster. Piercy should get an AHL contract. Kubalik will be a dangerous second or third line player for them. And Cross Hannes, man, I don't know. You got to think about what to do with him because he looks real good. All right, now Team White. The top line was really interesting. Lucas Raymond with Dylan Larkin. Tyler Bertuzzi remains out. He's day-to-day in the training camp. And we saw, instead, on the left side, we saw Jonathan Berggren. Jonathan Berggren, highly skilled, smaller player, second round or third round draft pick. I think he's second round draft pick of the Detroit Red Wings in 2020. And we saw him last year make his AHL debut, and he set the record for rookie points by a Grand Rapids Griffith. And you can see why. This guy is highly skilled. He is smaller. However, I projected him more as a centerman. The problem with that in the NHL is he is tiny. So could he play wing? And the answer is yes. He played with, probably the two best forwards on this team. And he does not look out of place. His skill level is obvious. He is a great complement to these guys. He created offense almost every single shift. Very smart. When bigger players tried to lean on him on the boards and in the corners, he came out with the puck every time. He does not lose battles. His skill level with the puck is very, very high. His hockey IQ is extremely high. He finds openings. He anticipates where the play is going to be, and he creates opportunities for his line mates. He was in on the Larkin goal, down low on the left side flank, and came in and just tapped the puck to Larkin, who roofed it over Nedeljkovic. This is really good news, I think, for Detroit, because if you're projecting upside from anyone, you really want Jonathan Berggren to succeed. And he had a great prospects camp as well. But I think this is like a player that he could be top 6 on this team opening night roster. And then you see what happens. I don't know what you gain by sending him back to the AHL. He's not going to get more skilled. He's not going to get faster. He looks physically prepared. He's just what he is. He's like maybe 5'9", 5'10". This was also a good opportunity to see Matt Luft, who's a free agent walk-on. And Matt Luft will definitely be in the AHL, and he can come up and play in the NHL. He scored a goal yesterday. He's a lanky player, played for the LA Kings. He's a third, fourth-line guy that can get you some offense. He's not an above-average skater. He's probably like an average skater, but he's got some offense in his stick. He can shoot the puck, and he's got good offensive instincts, and he's a good defensive player. This might be a useful player for them. The guy did not see much of this Pontus Andreasson. He came in with potentially a big reputation, had a real good year in the Swedish league, but that does not always translate. And so far, I'm not like overwhelmed by what I saw. I'm very excited about Anderson. If I'm very excited about Jonathan Berggren, I'm not so excited about Anderson. P.S. Suter was noticeable yesterday. The question is, I think he's going to lose out a lot of ice time to bigger, more talented players like Rasmussen. We didn't see Joe Villano yet. He is out day-to-day with an injury. And you've got to think, based on his play last year, that he's going to eat into the time that P.S. Suter would normally get. And P.S. Suter was really matched with Robbie Fabry and Tyler Bertuzzi, the former Guelph OHL line that's now in Detroit. He looked good. Like, he creates offense. He gets his opportunities. He's a quick player, but he's smaller. And he's not going to overwhelm you with his skill, but he does have a very good skill level. But I think he's going to have a hard time as time goes on from some of these players like Rasmussen, who are just going to chew up his ice time. And if Andrew Kopp comes back, I'm not sure where you put P.S. Suter, because right now there's more and more options on the wing, and I'll talk about one of those in a second. David Perron, this is going to be the home run free agent signing of the offseason. His skill level is noticeable. He is strong on his skates, 32-year-old veteran presence, high skill level, created offense, worked really well with his line mates. This guy's going to be what you would expect, a 25 to 27 goal scorer. He's going to fit in wonderfully. This is an inspired signing. St. Louis is really, 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 really going to miss this guy. Detroit is a big winner by picking him up. I was impressed by what I've seen from him. Veteran presence, high skill level, creates offense, can shoot the puck. We saw that yesterday, man. He can really fire the puck still. This is going to be an awesome addition to the Red Wings and give them a weapon they didn't have before. Dylan Larkin looks great. I got to admit, I don't necessarily see him as a true number one centerman, but playing with Lucas Raymond and Jonathan Berggren, these are two highly skilled, smart, intelligent players, and they make him so much better because his speed is harnessed and is useful. And he does not have to carry the puck on this line. The puck goes to Berggren or it goes to Raymond, and they know what to do with it, and they get it to Larkin at the right time. That's what you want. You don't want Dylan Larkin over carrying the puck. You want him shooting and darting into spaces, and when he does have the puck, having someone else that he trusts to move the puck to. And that's why that line was very, very interesting. Adam Ernie, third, fourth line guy. We saw him have an unusual number of goals in the lockout series, and that did not repeat as I guessed last year. I think he's going to eventually lose ice time to the number 85 that we're going to talk about, Elmer Soderblum. Soderblum, very, very, very good prospect camp. Also having a very good training camp. He's a monster with high skill level. Really, really good hands, above average skating. Like, his skating has improved so much. His puck handling is excellent, and he looked really good in this game. Kirill Tuchiev has a very high skill level, small player, but he's very small or very talented. So this is another great addition. He's had a very good prospect camp, and he had a very good training camp. But he's going to be tough to send back to the AHL, but he's also going to be tough to stay in the NHL. I didn't mention Taro Hirose, who looked good, but I think he's destined for the AHL. The skill level overall has risen, but he looked good. I mean, he's a very good playmaker. He just does not have a good shot. All right, on defense, everybody's been waiting for this because after Mo Seider, which we didn't talk about Seider. What are we talking about? Mo Seider was the Rookie of the Year. Mo Seider looks like a Norris Trophy candidate paired with Ben Sherratt. Ben Sherratt is a monster. He's really much better with the puck than I thought. He stepped in when it was appropriate. He also stepped into people, laying out a couple big hits in this game. He was holding back too. This is the NHL defenseman you want. If you had Mark Stahl 6 or 8 years ago, that's Ben Sherratt, and maybe better offensively. Like, he's got a good shot. He's got good offensive instincts. He's physical. He's hard to play against, and he makes Mo Seider better. Mo Seider, guys, this guy's going to be a Norris Trophy winner at some point. He looks great. His offensive skill looks like it might have improved, and he's physical and he's big. Like, having Ben Sherratt is going to be a big, big plus. He wore an A yesterday, by the way, in this game, so I would not be surprised to see him wearing an A on his jersey this year. He's a great addition. This is going to help Detroit so much, getting him. Gustav Lindstrom looked like his normal, reliable self. Dominic Sabrango also looks like a real reliable guy. But the big surprise is Vero, like the Finnish-born defenseman. This guy is a very good skater. He's got a little bit of grit to him. He's good one-on-one. I don't know if he's got a lot of offense, but he's got good offensive instincts, good first pass, good on the offensive blue line, good gap control defensively. This guy could be a 5-6 defenseman this year. He might make the team, but it's just going to come down to numbers at this point. All right, I'm going to come back now to Simon Edvinsson because this is the guy everybody's been waiting on. Simon Edvinsson had a kind of a rough day. One, he high-sticks Giovanni Smith. Giovanni Smith takes the penalty shot because there's no penalties in this game and scores on that. Then Simon Edvinsson offensively fires the puck and hits Robert Hagg in the head in front of the net on a riser that goes to the net, and Hagg went down like a sack of potatoes, unfortunately, left the game and did not come back. I would not be surprised to see Hagg on concussion protocol after that. Edvinsson must have made 7 to 10 turnovers yesterday. The size is evident. He's 6'6". The skill level as far as skating is evident. The puck handling ability is evident. I saw this on the prospects, and I said, I think he's going to start in the AHL, and I really believe that after watching in main camp so far. Defensively, he really is going to struggle for a while. This guy is a little bit raw. He is not Mo Seider, and he might be someday, but he's definitely not right now. He needs time in the AHL. I have all the faith that the coaching of the Red Wings and the Grand Rapids Griffiths can help him out. He's got Nick Cronwall and Nicholas Lidstrom at his disposal if he needs help, because they're both involved with the young defenseman. But he is not NHL ready, in my opinion. He looks when he gets the puck, he's turning it over, and when he doesn't have the puck, he looks like he's off balance a lot. Yes, he's physical, but he's also skinny, and I think he doesn't have great decision-making without the puck or with the puck yet. He needs time. All right, I'm going to go back to the forwards. Did I talk about Soderblum? I don't remember if I did, but it's going to be really hard to keep Elmer Soderblum off this roster. This guy, at the very least, is a third-line player right now. He's got such high skill level, great hands, 6'8", 249 pounds. When he has the puck on his stick, guys think they've taken it off him, and they haven't. They haven't even reached it yet. Like, he was, we saw him against, like, the other team's best defenseman. Now, I'd like to see him go against Sherratt, and they were on the same team, so that's not going to happen. Like, you want to see him against the Sherratt. How's he do against Ben Sherratt? That's a real key. But Elmer Soderblum right now, I don't know what you would gain by sending him to the AHL unless you're protecting another player on the roster, and they might be in that situation. But he is NHL ready, in my opinion. He's going to be a little raw, but what do you see is he's an above-average skater now. He's got great hands, and he's so big. He's not going to destroy guys, but he's also not going to give up the puck. And defensively, his stick is so active on the back check and the forecheck, and guys think that they've gotten past him, and then all of a sudden the stick's stealing pucks. Like, he's going to be a very good player this year, I think, for this team. Do you want to talk about Bianca Batuca? His dad is a former Michigan player, and he is as well. 6'3", very good skater, very good decision-making with the puck, physical. He is better defensively right now, in my opinion, than Simon Edvinsson, but he obviously doesn't have the upside of Simon Edvinsson, I don't think. But, at the very least, this guy's going to be in the AHL. He might be a 5'6" defenseman in the AHL, and he might long-term be a number 4. You just don't know. This guy looks very good. This is a real surprise. He had a very good prospect camp, and he looks very good in main camp. Like, he's ahead of a few guys that you wouldn't have expected. Like, you might look at him and compare him to Lindstrom, like Gustav Lindstrom, and go, I don't know who I'd prefer. I might prefer Bianca Batuca. Like, there's still time. And then we saw the two better goalies in camp. Sebastian Costa has played very well. Ville Husso has played well, although they did lose this game, but it was really a lot closer than it seemed. Like, they had the shootout goal by Giovanni Smith, and they had an empty netter by Giovanni Smith. So they lost 4-2, but in the end, overall, lots of talent out there. We still haven't seen Kopp. We still haven't seen Tyler Bertuzzi. They're only going to help out. There's still holes on this team. There's still some question marks on defense. I don't think Simon Edvinsson short-term is an answer to solving that stuff. You're hoping that Olli Maatta can stay healthy and have a really good year, because I think they're going to need that to get the best out of Philip Hronek. Sherratt and Sider otherwise are going to log a ton of ice time. They got a bunch of other guys that are very capable of filling in right now. But it's definitely overall an improvement. I think they need to send Simon Edvinsson to the AHL, give him some time, and you'll be in good shape. I don't see Nedeljkovic being a number 1. I'm hoping Ville Husso can play 50 games, but you might see a situation where maybe Kosa gets his first 10 games of the year this year. Like, maybe they give him 9 or 10 games, get him in the AHL. He looked real good. Like, I think he's responding to being a pro. Overall, if you're a Detroit Red Wings fan, there's a lot to like. They're not perfect yet. There's still a lot of questions. But overall, they've got a lot more offensive threats, and a full year with Filip Zadina and Jakub Vrana could be real good for this team. David's Perron, you've got to project also on the second line. And then you got Bertuzzi, Larkin, Raymond, and I think Jonathan Berggren's making a case for himself. And then you throw in Elmer Soderblum into that mix. There's some really interesting storylines in camp. All right, so we saw 9 players released or cut today. So we saw Andrew Oak, goaltender. I don't know what happens to him. I'm not sure where they assign these guys. Pascal Zito, the centerman. Jan Bednar had a very good prospect camp in net. Oscar Plandowski. So I've got to think Bednar, and I don't know about Oak if they'll sign him or not. But Bednar should be in the AHL with Kosa. Amadeus Lombardi, small, quick player, Ontario-born player. He had a good prospect camp, but he's not very noticeable in main camp. And these other guys, I didn't really notice much from them. Mitchell Martin had a couple moments, but I'm not sure if this is going to work out for him. He might be an AHL player, or they just might release him. So again, the focus for this team is improving defense. I think they've probably done that. They've definitely improved the forwards, though. And the goaltending is still a work in progress, but there's some signs of life there. So lots to like. So now we head into exhibition season. So we have, I think, 8 exhibition games, and I think the first one's tonight. Let's take a quick look at what the schedule is for your Red Wings. All right. So, actually, it's tomorrow night against Pittsburgh. So, in Pittsburgh at 7 p.m. Eastern, they play the Penguins in their first exhibition game, and their second one at versus Chicago at home. So, again, this is preseason, and then an exhibition game also at home at Little Caesars Arena with the Washington Capitals. So, busy week, 3 games ahead for the rest of the week as we head into phase 2. Really, we have 60 players, and I would expect by the end of the week that would get down to probably 30 or 40 players, probably 30 players. So I think half would probably go back to Grand Rapids and begin to form their team. And then, give some of these guys, it'll be interesting to see. I'll have to check out the lineup and the rosters, but we'll update you as the week goes on those games. On Tuesday, tomorrow night, we'll update you on the exhibition game in Pittsburgh. We'll have to see if we can actually watch it or not. It's I kind of like Traverse City, by the way, because you can watch the red and white game, and you can even watch some of the. I would like to see a lot more video, but on YouTube, like that's the great thing about camp for these guys, and then it shifts to the normal craziness of NHL Network and all these other things. But like you're like, is it on ESPN Plus? Is it on NHL Network? Where am I seeing it? So you get to the craziness of the regular season, but hopefully some of these exhibition games are also on YouTube because that's the best way to watch all this. Anyways, thanks, Hockey Nation. I know this is a little bit longer update, but there's a lot to report on. Looking forward to the next phase of camp and seeing some of these guys in exhibition games.